Okay, here we are. I'm so blessed. I have Dr. Katherine Coder coming on right now. Dr. Katherine, Dr. Coder. We're going to ask her what she prefers to be called. She's a very special guest and so blessed and thankful she's here to join us.
Thank you so much, Mike, for having me on this morning. I really appreciate it. People have their things they like to call me. I am working with the name Eva now. It's a spiritual name that came in. So Dr. Eva Katherine.
Very good.
Any of that works.
Choices.
Yeah.
What do your parents call you?
My parents call me Kat.
Very good.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Well, you look wonderful, and I'm so appreciative that you joined us today.
Yes. Thank you so much. It's nice to be connected here.
And I'm posting stuff about you on my social media so people can catch themselves up.
Thank you.
I want you to give us your background, whatever you want from the beginning, and then your business and spiritual background, and then what you're doing now, what you're going to do in the future, how people can join up with you.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yes. So let's see. I probably want to go back to getting my doctorate in transpersonal psychology. That was almost 10 years ago in 2011. And I was always so involved in community work before I'd gotten my doctorate, and going to the Peace Corps and working in New York and international development. And so I couldn't really decide after I graduated, and got with my doctorate, did I want to go back more into community work, or did I want to, do something else? And I wasn't, even though I specialized in clinical psychology, I wasn't feeling called to sit in an office all day long with just people coming in and out. I like to be out and about. So I moved to Miami. That was my great move to Miami. Miami, I consider my home. Even though I'm living in Colorado now, Miami is my most favorite place that I have ever lived. And so I ended up just developing such a beautiful community in Miami and leading spiritual groups and things like that, and getting involved in visionary plant medicine work, as well as supporting a Peruvian teacher who was wanting to build a community in South Florida. So I supported him. And then eventually I started leading my own groups more and more. And then I wrote a book on integrating visionary plant medicine experiences. I developed a really lovely individual practice, even though I said I didn't really want to just sit in a room and have people come in and out all day. I found myself really loving working with clients, and people just sort of showed up. And so I just followed the breadcrumbs of the universe, Mike. And now I have a son. So I became a mom in 2017 in May. And so he's a little more than 3.5 now, and just such a light, such a joy. Although motherhood is challenging, and single motherhood is also very challenging. So, motherhood is its own initiation. And now my work, I started specializing in trauma in 2018. So I've been working specifically with somatic experiencing, a trauma modality, for about the last 3 years, and completing a final certification this year, because COVID has put, as with many of us, COVID slowed us down a lot. And so now I'm completing that this year, starting some new training with Ketamine-assisted psychotherapy as well. Just started that last weekend. So I'm excited to find ways to do a lot of very deep work with clients. And I am just launched my first group program in years and years. So that's beginning February 8th. And right now we have about a couple of spots left. It's a temple experience, working with the elements, going really deep, learning songs and building altars, and just doing a lot of depth work. So that's really exciting. And, my practice is, I feel very blessed. People just find me somehow from all over the world. And it's been really amazing to work with just wonderful practitioners in their own right, their own, spiritual practitioners and whatnot, who are just really looking to go deeper, to really resolve some earlier wounding that they haven't been able to resolve yet. So I've done lots of things. I've led workshops, I've led year-long programs, and since becoming a mom, I slowed down lots and lots because I really wanted to spend a lot of time with my son, and I'm creeping my way back out now that my son's a little older.
I hear that. I have
Mm-hmm.
a 5-year-old son, so
Okay. Yes, you know.
I feel the energy.
Yes. Yes. Well, and they deserve, they deserve to have that attention.
That's for sure.
They deserve it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I waited a long time to become a mom. So I really, I wanted to be able to have the experience with my son and not be gone all the time or busy all the time.
Yeah. I have a 24-year-old daughter also, so I've already been
here. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, wow. Yeah. You have re-upped for a whole nother round of stewardship and guardianship. And that's wonderful. Congratulations.
You doubled down my ante. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
It's a very exciting story, but I want to try to fill in some of the gaps.
Sure.
So my audience and myself, I've read it actually a little more than the audience knows, but just for people that have just experienced you for the first time, I want to just get my story straight and see again how other people can, if you said you had slots available or in your group, for example. So let me just dig into the past a little more, and then I'm going to catch up to the present. So
sure.
Where were you born?
In Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay. And then you lived, and then you lived in Miami, and you love Miami, but your practice currently and your son is in Colorado.
Yes, my body is in Colorado and my son is in Colorado. His father lives in Colorado, so that is why we are here. And yet most of my clients are on the East Coast somewhere, from Boston down to South Florida. Now I have clients abroad. I do work with limited clients on the West Coast, the middle of the country, Texas, places like that, the Carolinas, I've been working online. Most people jumped online. A lot of them that were therapists, they jumped online with COVID, but I have been working online for 3+ years at this point because that's the way to continue my work with clients that were all based in Miami. Right. So I'm very familiar with working on Zoom at this point. But sure. Yeah, it's more about, people feeling called to work with me. I work with a lot of healers as well, people that are coaches or they're medicine women or they are therapists themselves. So, yeah.
That's kind of interesting. There's a lot of that going on in Colorado, I suppose.
There's a lot of, there's a lot of Boulder, I would say, and that's where I live. Boulder, pretty much every other person is a therapist, So really? I feel like this is like, of all the places in the U.S., per capita, there are more therapists here than anywhere else. Yeah.
You need each other to heal each other.
It's really funny. I mean, I went through like 12 therapists here. I couldn't really find anyone I really loved that much. I found one person who I will see sometimes, but I'm at this point in my own personal work. I tend to work with I work less with therapists personally. I work more with healers and energetic healers and people that can go in and just do some really targeted work. That feels like where I am personally. I have been in therapy starting when I was 19. So I have had a lot of experience with therapists and I've gotten a lot out of it.
For the last 3 years?
For the last 3 years. Yeah, exactly. So, I feel there's right now, I feel like my own personal work is very targeted. Like, okay, I need someone to go in and work with me around this trauma or this thing that I feel in my system that feels out of whack. Or, but I'm pretty experienced in the realm of the healing arts personally. So I've had a lot of.
Cool. I mean, my friend Callie Duritza, who was on a live stream about 10 live streams ago, does vaguely similar. I don't want to characterize it because I don't know enough about it, but she does kind of similar-ish stuff. You can check her out, Callie Claire, online.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but thank you.
It's interesting that I know both of you now that I know you. But back to your story and back to what's going on currently. you said you have individual therapy that people conceptually could message you and talk to you about if they about potentially signing up if they wanted to. And then, but in Colorado, you're a licensed psychotherapist, right?
In Colorado, I'm a licensed professional counselor candidate. And so I should be licensed by the summer. I'm going through all of the licensure motions here. In Miami, I never really considered to be licensed. I was doing more coaching, spiritual work. And if there was any serious cases, I would refer out to someone who was licensed.
But when you're through that, can people come and sit in your office, or it's all online?
Well, we're going to be evaluating kind of, poco a poco, so to speak. So Colorado is pretty locked down. I know that Florida is a different story. So here, therapists really are not meeting people in person at all on the ground. I mean, there's some people that are doing it. Yes. But it's pretty tight here in terms of the restrictions and things like that. And
all the weed stores are open.
Yeah, exactly. You can buy booze and you can buy weed, but exactly.
But if you need to go to the doctor, it's like...
Right. Well, right. Exactly. I think you can go to the doctor here. Many people are putting it off, but I got all my dental appointments in last summer when it seemed to be a bit better. But yeah, it's a different, Colorado is a different reality than, Colorado is similar to a lot of other states. I don't know if it's as severe as California, but certainly they've taken a lot of extraordinary measures. And then, of course, my son is in a preschool, and so they've asked us to adhere to higher standards of, restriction and, all of that, just to keep the pod safe, so to speak.
Yeah. My son's school is very safe, and then I did go to the dentist one time. First of all, they charged me like a sanitation fee or something. So next to $25. I didn't really care, but they were profiting, and
I know, like they should be sanitizing anyway, right? Like,
seriously,
they have always been doing that.
Yeah, you're at the dentist's office. It's not like you're at at a street fair. It's like it's supposed to be sanitized in the first place.
It's supposed to be sanitary. I feel that way about the airplanes too. Not that I've really flown. Much to speak of, but shouldn't they have always had these more rigorous standards for cleaning and filtering the air? Because of course, during any season,
that's why I like. That's one reason why I don't like flying. Like I don't like airplanes and hotels. It's or Ubers for that matter. Back to the current scene, though. You mentioned this group. What's your group about? Also, I want to hear about the ketamine therapy experiment that you did.
Yeah. So I'm offering a group. It's the Onos initiation, and this is part of the Onos temple. And Onos is an ancient word that means one. And so I'm really been digging into my own ancestry over these however many years, and discovered that my own lineage goes back about 40,000 years. My maternal lineage goes back around 40,000 years to the Russian steppe region. And so I really, have spent time just meditating and kind of being with these earlier roots and really wanting to honor my own ancestry in terms of the work that I'm moving forward with. And the actual structure of Onos started coming through last year in 2012. And over a period of months, I was doing all these drawings and, okay, what's this and what's that? And it felt like it all came through and it wanted to be offered out to community. And of course, I'm working a little bit at a snail's pace being a mom, but finally was able to launch everything at the beginning of this year. And so it's an intimate group. It will be a maximum of 9 people. Right now we have 7 people, so there are just a couple of spots left for people that want to join. And it's really a movement through a structure of elemental medicine. So we'll be working with water and earth and fire and air, and also a spirit temple, which is more of a non-dual experience. So the entire temple is structured in the idea that it emerges from the formless, right? It's a form that emerges from the formless. And so there's a deep honoring of the very mystical roots of this temple itself and reality, and just aligning with my own spiritual values and understanding through all of the awakening and processes that I've gone through. So each element will be working with a different part of ourselves. So we will be working with body, we work with mind, we're working with the heart and the emotions, as well as the soul. So in essence, it's a way to really tap into the deepest parts of ourself and understand our soul essence, our nature, and have some more tools in order to work in a spiritual way to bring a person into a greater sense of themselves, what they're here for, what their gifts are, what their joy is about, and how they operate in the world at more of a soul level. So I'm excited.
Like I may need one of those slots. I need some healing, to say the least.
Yeah. Each temple will be very healing. We're going to be doing it online, and I've offered a few events online before, and it's been really wonderful to see how the work translates through an online format, which most of the time I was always offering this kind of thing in person. So making the leap to going online, it really allows people to come from all over the place to join. You know, we don't have to be located in the same city. So that's lovely. And then, you know, I think there's a sense in a kind of a energetic sense, there's this idea of we're building out a constellation. You know, some people are in Colorado, some people are in upstate New York in the Northeast, and some people are down in South Florida. So we've got this like really amazing triangle that's happening. We're just connecting all of these dots, around the country. So that feels really nice.
It's on a Zoom conference?
It's on Zoom. Yep. We'll be working through Zoom, and each session is 2 hours. We'll be meeting for 7 weeks, 7 Mondays in a row, starting on the 8th of February. And so we're going to go into the 5 temple experiences of the elements plus the spirit temple. And then we're going to have a temple at the beginning to join all of the energies and be able to dive in and orient around, okay, what are we doing? And then at the end, we'll integrate all of the experiences. So each group that I run, I always like to have so much time for processing so people can talk about, okay, what happened for me and what did I experience? And they share that in community. So I do so much individual work now, but I used to do a lot of group work. And there's such a medicine in being able to connect with others around your healing and your path and what's unfolding, and to be witnessed and to be supported and to, you know, build friendships and connections. You know, this is such a Sangha, of course, has always been an important part of anyone's growth or development. And I think in the West, we get so individually focused, but the community is its own medicine. The community is its own resource. And so I'm really excited to bring all of these people together. And we have people starting in their 20s all the way to late 60s.
Oh, really? So I qualify. I qualify potentially.
Yes, you qualify. You qualify. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think we have like one in the 20s, and then one in the 30s, one in the 40s, and then one in the 50s, and then 2 in the 60s. So, you know, we're really like, it has an intergenerational kind of span to it, which feels really nice. And
I want to make a footnote to the audience that first of all, this app that we're on Livestream, you can actually add a bunch of people in a similar format to Zoom. And also my own company, phone.com, has a conferencing app that does the exact same thing also, but Zoom works fine. All 3 of them actually work really well. Also, that group that you did last week, this ketamine therapy, I've actually read about that, and I thought it was really interesting. It was interesting when you messaged me when we were messaging, and you mentioned that. I was like, that was something I was just reading about not too long ago. So tell me what's up with that.
So I started a training with the Polaris Insight Center. It's out of San Francisco. It's one of the older clinics that's been working with ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. So the benefit of ketamine is that it's legal. which we cannot really highlight enough, the importance of the legality of all of these medicines in terms of being able to work with them as a licensed practitioner of any sort, MD.
Is it a prescription or over the counter?
It's a prescription. So you work with a provider, and the medical provider then determines, what's the best fit for you. There are a lot of people that ketamine is not appropriate for. It raises your blood pressure. And so anyone who has blood pressure issues or some even heart issues or even respiratory issues, this isn't the best fit. And so, a medical doctor will rule out, or a psychiatric nurse or a practitioner can rule out people that have conditions that would be unfavorable to work with ketamine to make sure everybody is safe. Ketamine is offered in a few different forms at this point. So there's a lozenge, which some clinics are offering people the ability to do at-home work. So they will, once they're familiar with the process of taking the lozenge, they can do it at home, which is kind of interesting. I think that I would really prefer to have someone in person for any kind of psychedelic work. But there's a lozenge. There is something called an IM, which is
psychedelic. It makes you trip out and hallucinate.
It's a psychedelic, yeah. And depending on the dosage, it can be more or less psychedelic. So the idea is that at a low dose, the ketamine produces a trance state. So you're in a kind of a suspended place. It's a dissociative medicine. People use it for anesthesia. They've used it a lot in wartime and things like that, and just in the OR for being able to do surgeries and things like that. So ketamine is overall very safe, been used for such a long time. And so it puts people it's an anesthesia. So an anesthetic, it puts people in a place, kind of a dissociated state. And then there's a way, if it's a low dose, that they can work through some of their biographical material in that space where they have a little bit more freedom in their mind. They're not so burdened by the emotions and the traumas and things that are going along, so they can actually go into the material. So that's where that's where the psychotherapy part comes in. And then an IM dose is an intramuscular dose. So that's a shot. And that needs to be administered by, at the very least, a nurse who will then watch the process. And that will catapult people into what they call a transpersonal experience. Oh. So it initiates for many people a non-dual, a complete experience of non-duality where they are one with everything. And that becomes useful. Yeah, that becomes useful for people's work in terms of, especially people who are very traumatized, recovering a sense of, okay, what's this all about? And
that's a one-time shot, or it's a
one time.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. One time.
That sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah. So people have can have very transformative experiences with that. I mean, the IM dose is something people lead up to. And of course there are infusions, but the infusions themselves typically don't involve psychotherapy as much. There are sort of these infusion clinics where you go, they just kind of hook you up to an IV, they put you in a room, you have your experience, they might check on you. So that's not, that's not what I'm training in.
I didn't realize any of that stuff at all. That's very interesting. I actually read an article a while back, but it was actually about a long-term pain doctor for people surgery pain and stuff instead of opiates.
Yes. And one of the wonderful things that they're working, I also know of pain doctors that are working with ketamine infusions. Typically they're not doing psychotherapy with it. They're just offering them in infusions. Ketamine has been very important for people that are deeply depressed. People who have a treatment-resistant depression or suicidal. It can really take someone from being actively suicidal to not suicidal at all. So it's seen as an intervention to save someone's life if they're if they're in such a dark place. Yeah.
Did you see Pulp Fiction?
Many years ago.
They had the girl
yeah. Right.
She had a transformative experience, to say the least.
Right. Yeah, I really haven't been too aware of ketamine. I really prefer more organic materials. But, this is a way to start legal psychedelic therapy. And then once I'm licensed, I can do the trainings for MDMA and I can do the trainings for psilocybin once those are legal as well.
They do all that too?
They will be legal. Well, I mean, right now in Portland,
MDMA is like ecstasy, right?
Yes, but it's usually a more pure form of it. It's not cut with the same kinds of things you might find on the street. So it's just, I would say it's a little safer, although there are rule outs for working with MDMA, especially because it increases your blood pressure so much. So people with cardiac issues, not recommended.
But that's those same types of therapy that you just mentioned, they do that also with MDMA?
Right now, there are trials, yes. So it's not possible to do it legally at this point outside of a trial, but there are a number of trials that are in phase 3. So they are working with, hundreds of people all over the country. There are different sites for the trials. Some of the trials are in Boulder.
Is there any relationship between those two drugs, or
no?
So they have a totally different effect on the people.
Totally different effect.
Like a different like angle you're approaching it from.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think for trauma, a lot of people might prefer to work with MDMA just because it tends to allow emotional trauma. It allows the body to process through very difficult emotions, and it alleviates the kind of the fear response that we have, and it limits the activity of the amygdala, which is kind of putting the brakes on a person being able to really process through the trauma because it's too overwhelming. So MDMA alleviates some of that pressure, and then people can process very difficult things in that setting. So it looks like the phase 3 trials will, emerge successfully. There's a lot of wonderful data coming out and results and things like that. And it should be FDA approved. Some people said this year, next year perhaps. And of course, this will not be legal. Like anyone can just go buy MDMA and take it at home.
I understand. You need a doctor.
Right. You'll have to go, have to be.
It's legal with a prescription. It's not a street drug. It's a prescription drug.
Yeah. They will just take it out of a Schedule 1 so that it can be used therapeutically.
Got you.
Yeah. It was used therapeutically before in the 80s. And it was used, pretty often. And, even LSD was used way back when it wasn't a Schedule 1 substance. And so
like MK Ultra experiment.
Well, yeah, that's a dark side for sure. That's a dark side. But there was a lot of work going on in Europe around LSD and psycholytic therapy, and really seeing how it could be helpful for people and reducing their symptoms, psychiatric symptoms or psychological symptoms.
My elementary school didn't include that in our books.
No. Well, all of the textbooks are published in Texas. So you're gonna go the
anything like that.
You're getting the conservative version of everything in the textbook. Sadly, you have to go to college in order to really start to apprehend what's going on in the world.
Is the twang kind of included in the text? Yeah, you're from Texas. That's right. All my exes are from Texas.
It's so funny. I've come to really appreciate Texas in many ways. But I was ready to leave at 18. I'm like, I'm done with this place. I didn't want to be raising a child around so much homophobia. And I mean, even friends who were anti-Semitic. I was like, what is going on? This is not okay.
In Florida, it's the same deal. It's very frustrating.
It's interesting though, because there's different Floridas, right? There's many.
Well, the people who are like natives of Florida are from the South, basically.
Yes, I have a lot of family in North Carolina as well, so I grew up around a lot of that kind of southern.
Half my family's from North Carolina, actually.
Which half? Your mom or your dad?
My dad's side.
Or your dad?
From Elizabeth Town, a tiny little dot on the map.
Okay, yeah, where my mom's
place.
Yeah, it's from Burlington, so. Yeah, I spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of summers at the beach and in the mountains. Everyone's flocking to Asheville these days, but I grew up, every summer going to the Asheville area. So I've had a lot of
pretty there. Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
I have some friends that bought property there recently. A couple groups of people I know bought property. It seems like a lot of people are kind of retiring that direction.
Definitely, or just going for a few months in the summer, or just escaping COVID, or some version of that.
I love all that in the mountains, and I love Colorado. I used to do a lot of business and little travel in Colorado and Utah, but I need to be near a beach, basically, is what it boils down to.
Yeah, I'm definitely a mermaid. I really miss the water. I was going every month to Miami and seeing clients there before COVID, and I haven't been to Miami. This is the longest time I haven't been to Miami in almost 10 years.
Well, let me know when you come.
I know. I'm really I'm looking at spring break. Maybe there's a possibility to go for just like a few days and sit on the beach and then time it so that my son's out of school long enough where we could quarantine. It's just like
that whole quarantine is going to eventually be over, so you'll be able to just take him.
I know. Yeah, I think we get through this. I could see going by myself.
Yes.
He spends a week with his dad over spring break, and so I could see just going just me, and then maybe in the later summer or something like that. I think we could have probably gone last summer, but I got really protective around traveling by plane. But his dad took him to New Jersey a couple times, and they were fine. They didn't get sick or anything. So
you get sick on a normal trip to New Jersey, forget COVID.
I know. Yeah, but he went twice over the summer and he was fine. So anyway, I think I do praying certainly for, the resolution and, for people, for there to be more safety and for greater health and less risk for folks. I mean, I think this has been a deep collective initiation. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, well, it's actually awesome hearing, your experiences and what you're into and your perspective. All my guests are different. Some are very structured business people. Some are international. Everybody's got their own bit. And you're very exceptional in many respects. Really appreciate you hanging out. Is there anything else you want to talk about or tell the audience about?
Oh no, not anything specific. Just wanted to say thank you to you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for reaching out. And it was I said a little prayer to the universe, like, oh, I think I need to go on do more radio, more podcasts this year. And then you popped up, and all these other people popped up, and I feel like you are an answered prayer. So thank you, and blessings to anyone that's watching this either now or later. It's nice to become acquainted. Thank you.
Yeah. It's going to all be saved on YouTube and hopefully indexed into Google. So it'll probably be around forever as long as we want it to be.
That's great. Forever. What a concept. Thank you.
And I'm gonna do live domain name training next. So hopefully I'll do a good job there because it's all going to be mashed together into a YouTube video.
Okay, good. Good luck with that. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful experience having you as a guest, and hope to talk to you again ASAP.
Thank you. Let's definitely stay in touch.
Okay, Dr. Eva, thank you so much.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. So that was awesome. She was great. And this makes a great YouTube video. And all my guests are so awesome. Last week, Divyank. We have great guests coming up the rest of the month. Michael Dooner. Lovely smile. Not you, Mike. Thanks a lot. What about me? What am I, chopped liver? Okay, so we're going to do some live domain name training now. Hopefully you guys have good domain names. If you don't, then I'm going to do some from my own list, which I'm going to pull up at the moment. If you guys have any, put them in my thing, but only really high level, high quality ones so we don't waste anybody's time. So I have some on my little list here, and I'm going to hit it ASAP. And again, I'm going to share my screen in 1 sec here. Okay. Well, let me just. We're going to do readyforyou.com. Oh, no, we're not. That could have an adult connotation. Upthegame.com. So again, we're going to use Google and search with Boolean. Keeping in mind that Google doesn't really do Boolean very well and doesn't do contextual casing. So upthegame.nl, NL is Amsterdam, Netherlands. So they have plenty of money in Western Europe. Some places in the world don't have plenty of money, so you want to keep that in mind when you're looking at the extension. You want to look how well they've indexed their stuff in English in Google. In this case, you can see these people are very serious in English. Up the Game Online Festival, over 100 visitors every day. Sounds okay. Disney, Pixar's Up the Game. So you can see this is a problem with the Google monopoly is, you know, I gave them an exact Boolean quote, which means they should have filtered out these bad links, the ones that are inexact, the ones with different types of formatting, different types of punctuation in the middle of it. So here we can see how many likes there are on Facebook page. We could also review to see if it's the same one as the Netherlands company. So the point here with all the appraisals is, first of all, we're only doing .com. 99.9% of the value in the market space is .com. So we stay focused there. We filter out anything with hyphens, anything with numbers. Even though there's lots of good domains with hyphens and numbers, we're trying to just get the best of everything. So we're just trying to create a filter that filters out as much garbage as possible and only shows us the best names. In this case, and in every case for an appraisal, what we want to do is disambiguate it, figure out what it means. So Up the Game is actually a multi-entendre, which means multiple things to multiple people, which is actually good as long as it's used in branding. In this case, we can see it's very easy to say and spell, even though it's 3 words. It's not very many letters in all 3 words, you know, it's a total of 9 letters. So that's great, particularly for 3 words. It's a cool sounding name. We're going to figure out more what it means, but luckily it means multiple things. Then we need to figure out the breadth, how many potential companies might use it, and then the depth, who's the best one and how big are they, how much money do they have, how badly do they need it, how much does it make our domain worth, upthegame.com. So again, in this case, we see there's 237 million matches, so that's crazy high number. And it looks like Up is the name of a video game, Up the Game Online Festival we mentioned already, Up the Game Bunnick. I could look at that on the social media, Facebook. It's the name of a song, Rihanna Williams, Raina, the Queen, giving Up the Game. That's not an exact match, so I would exclude that by going like this. This should work. In Google's Boolean is crappy, but it does let you subtract out a word. So I just got rid of the word giving. So giving up the game is gone now. So that gives me better context. There's still 175 million results. So that's awesome. So it means a bunch of stuff. It has a lot of breadth. We'll look at some images for a bit. Looks like it's the name of this game. Up is the main thing. There's some other stuff going on. Definitely about gaming, of course, Up the Game. And up, you know, means a few different things, but it means rise up your skill level ostensibly. So improve your skill level. So as far as appraising this explicit name, we kind of know what it means. The breadth is kind of medium high, and the depth is very deep because one person could make this an incredibly great brand and own it the rest of their life. And that is the main premises here, is the depth. This is just such a great expression. It means something related to gaming, double entendre. It's an extraordinarily powerful brand name. So regardless of the other rules, that overtakes everything else. It's an incredibly powerful brand, easy to spell, 9letters.com. It's everything anybody could want in a new or existing brand to sell, to advertise to their customers. And again, there's other people that already have existing companies with these names. We could spend more time to figure out how wealthy they are, but we're not doing that at the moment. So the thing's worth $100,000 is the correct answer. Which I already knew before I did the appraisal. It's listed for $150,000, but on discount it would sell for $100,000. Okay, you guys put a bunch on here, or at least Otar did, which is fine. It's the only person listening. Here's this thing, smokables.com. So let's see what smokables means. So it has a lot of hits. It has an Instagram, 691,000 matches. It's one word, so it's an exact match by default because there's no other way to say it. Although I could subtract out smokable because again, Google's not very good at giving me what I'm asking for, but it will let me subtract stuff out in Boolean, which is a good thing to do. So in this case, smokable is gone. So we're just looking at smokables. So I think it has some, I don't know if it has something to do with weed or some other cannabis smokables. Denver's best dispensary. Should ask Dr. Eva about that. So what does it mean? I don't know. Something to smoke, I guess. Let's see here. It's weed. Oh, I see. Edibles is food, smokables is smoke. So you take the weed and you either eat it or you smoke it. If you smoke it, it's called a smokable, although I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before, but what in the world? I mean, it's not really clear what all this stuff is. CBD. So that's just fake weed, I think. So we kind of know what it means. It's weed or CBD. It's something you smoke, but you don't eat. It's related to marijuana, hemp. Okay, so we got it. We know what it means. The breadth is all the weed companies. So there's probably hundreds of weed companies, so that's good. So it means something. It's practically a dictionary word if it's not literally a dictionary word. I mean, it's one simple word, easy, relatively easy to spell, very easy to say, makes for a powerful brand. And the breadth, again, we discussed about the depth is some of these weed companies have a lot of money. So basically this passes all the tests of a valuable brand domain. And so, you know, again, I still have to make up a price ultimately. And the good news is I've done this more than anybody else, so I should be fine. Smokables.com. We'll just go through our tranche test here. Is it worth 100 grand? Probably. Is it worth 150 grand? Probably. Is it worth 200 grand? That would be very extreme. Let's go back to 150 grand. That's pretty extreme. 100 grand's a lot of money. 50 grand seems pretty fair. 75 grand seems fair. 100 grand, it's kind of pushing it. So it's worth 80 grand. Awesome. Otar, you're in the money, bro. I get 10%. Hopefully I disclosed that to you before you posted that. Expertkitchens.com. That's a good one. So again, we know exactly what it means. It's like a builder, a renovator, home construction, home renovation, kitchen renovation. You know, it's good stuff. Let's see what else we have here. expert bathrooms also. For some reason, expert bathrooms is it's longer and it sounds a little weird. I'm assuming people need more expertise in the kitchen and less in a bathroom. And there's probably more money being spent in kitchens. So we're only doing one at a time anyway. So, but expert kitchens, keeping in mind it's diluted by the word expert kitchen. But there isn't a lot of other ways to say kitchen. I mean, you could say it in Italian, cucina, or other languages, but that doesn't count. Plus, you'd have to use the word expert in Italian to make it jibe properly. So it's a great name. We're going to go into Google and see what's going on. So very good. It's got, again, logos, slogans. We like that a lot. This is expert kitchens and baths. Expert kitchen. So again, this is a potential buyer. Another potential buyer, although this is Ottawa, so they buy .ca, which they might want to cover .com also, but less likely. Expert kitchen, again, I didn't ask Google for that, but they gave it to me anyway, but I can subtract it out. Again, that's the dilutive factor, is that this thing is a plural. Expert kitchen might be a better word, and regardless, they each dilute each other. Many words don't really have a plural that makes sense, so that singular and plural are identical. So there's actually not that many hits in there. Expert kitchens, although, you know, again, I subtracted out the word kitchen, so I might have biased it too much. So let's just see what it looks like. Not really. It's just not that great of an expression. So it's not as good as I expected. It's only got 4,600 hits. Those other ones had significantly more that we just appraised. We saw some hits here. So we know what it means. The breadth is not as broad as we expected. The depth is pretty deep because it's a really good name, although diluted by the fact that it's a plural, and there's other ways of saying it, but not many. So it's still a great name. Expertkitchens.com, 15,000. So again, if after you look at the appraisal, just think rationally here. If a company buys that, who's a kitchen renovation company, you know, all they need is a couple deals to make $15,000 profit, most likely. So will that domain bring them deals that they would not get otherwise, such that it's greater than the profit? It's greater than the expense of the domain. The profits from the new customers are more profitable than the price of the domain. And so in most cases, that's true, which is why domains are a great investment. The math isn't properly done in the market space, so the domains are underpriced. The best domains, the best .com domains are great investments. Bitcoin's a shit investment because you can't even do anything with a Bitcoin. You might be able to buy stuff with it, but it'll crash and crash, and then you'll be left with nothing. There's no silver, there's no gold to melt down. It's bits and bytes. Ethereum is funny too, just because they actually use the word ether. It's just ether. It just goes nowhere. But super premium .com domains like Expert Kitchens, you're in the money there as long as you got it at the right price. Smokables.com is another great one. You guys have all kinds of crazy stuff going on here. Otar's spamming me. There we go. Ryder's always got good stuff. He owes me 10%. Yeah, precision farming. So, you know, that's a great name. If you think about modern technology and modern farming, it requires more precision, more profit, and presumably that domain. So let's look that one up. Oh, it's awesome. A lot of hits there. You can see how precise these people are. That's weird. They're precise in precision farming. Yeah, so they have computers and robots. They're not messing around at all. They have drones. That's awesome. Precision agriculture. Well, there you have it. So that's probably the right name. well, let's see how many hits it has. Well, actually, this says 2 million for farming. Let's see which one the right word is. You'll find out the right one by finding out which one has the right number of hits, or the largest number of hits. So precision agriculture is actually the word, but farming is another word. They dilute each other. It could be precision farms, precision farming, precision agriculture, precise farming, precise agriculture. So again, it can be diluted by all those things. It's a little bit long and a little bit hard to spell, but you know, most people can deal with it. So we do know what it means, and it's actually a really cool word, a growing field, lots of activity in Google, 2 million hits. It's huge. And we see all these nice pictures that relate to that word. So a lot of people are using it. It's high tech. And it has a lot of breadth, all these farms and computer people. A lot of people could conceptually use it. It's potentially diluted by some other words, but not a ton. It's a little bit long. So the breadth is pretty broad, really. And the depth is pretty deep because these are mega $1 million farms. And they don't need that much money for a domain to build an online farm, online real estate. So in that light, we shall appraise this thing. So again, is it precision farming worth 100,000? Definitely not. It's worth 50,000. Probably not. Is it worth 20,000? Definitely make a case for that. Is it worth 30,000? I think you can make a case for that too. 40,000, you can't make a case for. So therefore, it's worth 30,000. Precisionfarming.com. Pull one more, and you guys are off the hook each time. Do you have any other good things, or should I go to mine? Simply Eye Care from Thomas. That one sounds good. Okay, Simply Eye Care. This is the last one with Thomas. I mean, we know what it means. It's for a optician, ophthalmologist. It's actually cool. It actually looks like a lot of people are using it. Or is it a lot? See more anyway. Not a lot, but some. So again, we know what it means. The breadth is not very broad, medium broad. It's easy to say, easy to spell. It's meaningful. Optometrists make tons of money. The breadth is not broad, 321 results. That's actually an accurate number. If it's below 99, and you go down here and it'll say see more results. But if it's above 99, it's actually an accurate number. If it's below 99, it's most likely a false number. So 321 is actually an accurate number. It's very low. So again, we know what it means. The breadth is not broad. The depth is a little bit, because again, there's other ways of saying it. Simple eyes, simply eyes, simple eye care, easy eyes, easy eye care, whatever it may be. So it's only relevant to like this one person who has a clinic in New Jersey, and they're probably not going to pay a ton, most likely. There looks like there may be 2 or 3 other ones. This is either the existing owner or the old owner, maybe Thomas himself. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just asking if the value, let's see, Kuyen Tran, that doesn't sound like Thomas. Wait a second. Yeah, so, well, that's nice. Okay, so what I would say in this case is that it's a great name for a doctor. It's imperfect, but great. And I think, you can make a case for sure it's worth 10,000. Can you make a case it's worth more than that? I mean, 15,000 Simply Eyes seems too extreme. It's not that great of a name. So it's 10,000, simplyeyes.com. And that's it. You guys are awesome. And Dr. Eva was awesome. Thanks so much. I'm going to save this and post about my next guest in a little while online. This thing will be memorialized on YouTube, and I'll post that. So I encourage you to read it and share it with your friends. And in general, I encourage you to share all of my posts, because Google and some other people block things based on keywords or block things based on me. And the more people share it, the harder it is to censor good information, which is a terrible problem in society, done by monopoly named Google illegally. The same people that are screwing up my searches here with bad quality Boolean and bad quality case domains. So anyway, it's been an awesome session, and I really appreciate it, and hope you guys have fun at the beach. Thank you.